The Bitcoin wars continue as Tether buys a crapload of Bitcoin as they prepare to take 21 Capital public. The race to who will be the number one corporate holder of Bitcoin is on. And we got three key players. We'll talk about those. Also, history was made today or yesterday as the first ever private to public blockchain transaction was facilitated by none other than Chainlink. Who else is on the other side? It is Ondo. And what does this mean for RWAs, for cryptocurrencies, for Chainlink, for Ondo, for the altcoin markets? We'll have that very important conversation. You got to hear what Brian Armstrong from Coinbase had to say as he made his rounds on TV today and what it means for crypto adoption moving forward. We have some big XRP news, some economic data, and to those of you that participated in a Genesis launch that I talked about in our Patreon post, congratulations, because you just made a 20x in less than 1 day. We'll talk about that and much, much more on today's episode of SINCITY Crypto. Let's go.
It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to SINCITY Crypto, home of the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency content. We take old, boring, stale information, repackage it all up in a fun, sexy way. We give you price predictions, which give you extremely narrow timelines and time windows that do not come accurate or true.
Just gonna sell yourself out like that, man?
And you know what? I thought we were gonna have a breakout yesterday. That was my hype train yesterday.
I asked you, I said, are we gonna be in this consolidation? You said no.
I did say by Thursday. So the time is still ticking. We are waiting for that big Bitcoin breakout. I did think it was gonna come yesterday, but
technically time doesn't stop ticking. But yeah. Time is still ticking. And wow. Yeah. If you're new here, make sure you sub to the channel. We have a lot to talk about today. A lot of exciting things happening in crypto. So if you're watching, also shout out to Papa, said, wow, he's watching it in 4K for the first time. It's life-changing, isn't it? Very life-changing. All right, let's start. Excuse me. Let's start with the Bitcoin wars. The war is on. Why? Well, Tether-backed firm, 21 Capital, ramps up Bitcoin holdings ahead of their public listing. This is a article from coindo.com. 21 Capital, a rising Bitcoin-focused investment firm backed by Tether, has quietly vaulted into the top ranks of corporate Bitcoin holders with a new $500 million acquisition. 4,812 Bitcoin was bought at an average price of $95,319 each, now held in escrow as the company gears up for a public debut. 21 Capital, which is planning a SPAC merger with Cantor Equity Partners, now holds over 36,000 Bitcoin, making it the third largest corporate Bitcoin holder globally. So now, the way I see it, it's a three-headed race. Obviously, MicroStrategy, 21 Capital, and David Bailey's new company, Nakamoto. These three are all looking to be the number one corporate holder. Now, we know MicroStrategy has a massive head start on the rest of them. We're talking about 21 Capital, 36,000 Bitcoin. MicroStrategy has 560,000 Bitcoin. So the war is on. This is going to continue as companies go public. We had massive news we shared yesterday with Coinbase getting into the S&P 500. We'll have a little more on that. But Robin, Bitcoin wars. What are your thoughts on this? We know Tether, they announced that they were going to start buying Bitcoin with their treasury. We know, I think, and someone can quote me on this, but when it comes to net revenue and net revenue, I think Tether is like the most profitable company in the world. When you look at their overhead versus their revenue, right? So their net revenue, what they keep at the end after all their expenses, employees, everything else is paid. Show me another company that has the margins that Tether does, and they're putting those margins to buy Bitcoin. What are your thoughts here? And this three-headed monster, like the one in the Harry Potter movie, the three-headed dog. Anyways.
who is three-headed?
Just answer the question, man. It was a Harry Potter movie.
Why did you say that? Now he's going to go.
Guys, help me out here. Help my co-host.
Okay,
I'm
asking a genuine question. What are the three heads of this monster here? The Tether, Bitcoin, and what else?
It's 21 Capital, Strategy, and Nakamoto.
Okay.
Yeah. Similar to the dog.
Wow.
Harry Potter. Great movie.
Obviously, MicroStrategy king here. They have the most weight. They're publicly traded. They generate a lot of capital outside of just money on hand or assets that they personally have. They just borrow a ton of money, and they're able to do so, right? And they're talking about raising, was it $64 billion is the next one?
Try 84.
84. Yeah, it was some of them.
42. The original plan was
21, and then they doubled it
to 42,
and then they doubled it to 84. Yeah. So $84 billion, that's what they're trying to generate or raise in the next year, right? In the next 12 months.
I forget what the timeline was.
Yeah, basically. Something along those lines. And so you're talking about a massive, massive amount of capital. I mean, think about it. I know this math makes sense, but I'm just trying to put it into perspective. $100 billion is just a tenth of a trillion. So they're on the way to generating trillions of dollars if they keep doubling it, right? If it ends up being 84, and then the next curtain call, the next raise will be to 168. And then after that, you got 320 or 32 billion. Basically, like if he keeps going the path that he's going, and he's only been at this for a couple years as far as raising capital to buy Bitcoin, I would say in maybe 5 years from now, they're over $1 trillion, right? I mean, what do you think? $1 trillion company, there's only a handful of those. There's not a lot.
Yeah.
You look at the
that's what Matt Hogan said.
Yeah.
Remember?
And so I think you're going to see $1 trillion MicroStrategy within 5 years, at least at the rate that they're going. Now, maybe they get cannibalized by some other companies that are doing something similar, like you mentioned here with 21 Capital and Nakamoto. But I still think that because MicroStrategy was first to market for, a publicly traded company that's buying Bitcoin, they're the largest. And not to mention, Michael Saylor is just kind of that poster child, face cheerleader, rah, buy Bitcoin. It's hard to argue that MicroStrategy is not going to be at the forefront of publicly traded companies buying Bitcoin. And so for that reason, he's going to remain king, dude. And on top of that, there's only so much Bitcoin to go around. Remember, only 450 Bitcoin are mined per day. And supply is shrinking quickly. So there you go. Altcoins are going to rip soon, man.
Speaking of altcoins, big news. Big news. Papa just became a level 1 sinner.
There he is.
Join the confessional and tell us about your sins, my friend. Seriously, thank you, Papa, for your support. We appreciate you. Yeah. Everyone's going to try to go go after Saylor and Strategy. I just don't do you think their lead is just insurmountable? Because because he's going to keep buying.
He's first to market, and they have the big name. I don't want to say everyone knows who they are, but the big Wall Street traders, a lot of traditional finance, they're familiar with MicroStrategy. These other new players, nobody knows who they are. Maybe that'll change down the road, but
21 Capital, they know who Jack Mallers is. Right?
And that's their co-owner.
That's their CEO. That's what I'm saying. So, you brought up the brand.
Nobody knows who Jack Mallers is outside of the crypto circles.
Strikes I was going to say
tiny
pretty big company.
It's a tiny company.
It's a decent sized company. Medium company. Anyways, $13 billion. That is the number, net revenue for Tether in 2024. $13 billion. And I think they said 10% is going to BTC, which is $1.3 billion. And so this is going to be huge. The race is on. It's been on, but I think it's heating up. as more companies start to announce that they're buying, I think we have an announcement of another company doing the same thing. But before we get into that, as I said, history was made. History was made. Let's take a look at this. You want to talk about what crypto really does and something to get excited about? This should get you excited, okay? There's a few things in life that get me excited. This is one of them. JP Morgan settles its first transaction on a public blockchain using Chainlink and Ondo to move tokenized treasuries beyond its private network. That was posted by Cointelegraph, and this was the X post from Chainlink. We're excited to announce the successful completion of a cross-chain delivery versus payment, also known as a DVP, transaction in collaboration with Connexus by JP Morgan and Ondo Finance. This milestone marks the first of its kind cross-chain atomic settlement of a tokenized asset between Connexus Digital Payments permission blockchain and an L1 public blockchain. Powered end-to-end by Chainlink Runtime Environment, CRE, the transaction involved the exchange of Ondo Chain's short-term U.S. government treasury fund as the asset leg, with Connexus Digital Payments Network serving as the payment leg. Since inception, the Connexus platform has exceeded $1.5 trillion in notional value, processing an average of more than $2 billion daily in transaction volume. Payments transactions have grown by 10x year over year. Wow, this is, again, what we've been talking about. But before I get Rob's opinion on this, I want to give a big thank you to today's show. We're proud to announce is brought to you by stake.us. And if you guys know anything about social casinos, you know Stake is number one. And if you don't have an account, highly recommend you use the link in the description, create an account, have some fun, play some games. Great sit and go tournaments. By the way, RareEvo is coming, and there's going to be a poker tournament. And so if you're going to play in the poker tournament, you need to practice because I'll probably take your money if you don't. And the way you do that is you go to stake.us and you play some of those sit and go tournaments. So big shout out to Stake for bringing today's show. Robin, history was made. Wow. Private to public. JP Morgan Chase. This was the test, and it was successful. Does this mean the floodgates are about to open?
I don't think so.
Of course not.
You're way more bullish on that. Now, I'm not saying this isn't a big deal, but when you're saying floodgates, you're talking about a tsunami of buys
it's a flood.
Okay, well, a flood of buys and price green candles and bullish narrative. It's gonna be slow growing, man. You gotta understand that that traditional finance, traditional institutions, the banking system, JP Morgan, they move at a snail's pace. They're not going to all of a sudden start putting tens of thousands and millions of transactions on blockchain.
This is what they were waiting for. This was what they were waiting for. They were waiting to see if this thing would actually work, and now it works.
How many transactions did they do? One?
Yes. That's the point. Why are you laughing? That's the point.
It's going to be one today, and then in 6 months they'll try 10,000 transactions, and then in a year and 6 months they'll say, "Hey, we're gonna implement this on one of our test bank systems in Wyoming for this one bank branch." And then, I'm sorry, dude, but banks are not gonna just start using crypto like today. And tomorrow, all of a sudden, there's trillions of transactions. It's going to take a while. Chainlink historically takes a while anyways to do everything, or at least to get any price accumulation. And with due cause, like, there should be a reason. You should take your time when it comes to the banking system. You know what I don't want is another Terra Luna, another blockchain to come in and be like, wow, look at it. Trillions of dollars are pouring in, or hundreds of billions of dollars in Terra Luna's case is pouring in. Everyone's talking about how great it is. Everyone must use the Luna token. It's an algorithm. It self-balances itself out. It's game changing. That's what I feel about with banking, right? Banking and crypto. Traditional finance would be like, wow, this is going to be great. put the brakes on it, dude. They're gonna test it methodically. They're gonna roll it out stage by stage, little by little. They're not gonna take any inherent risk because you know damn well, David, everyone in banking and traditional finance thinks that crypto's a risk. And so the only way that they're going to feel comfortable with it is with time. Time is the big risk mitigator, right? Why are people comfortable investing in Bitcoin? Well, because they heard about it in 2012 and they blew it off, and then they heard about it in 2014 and then 2017, and then they're like, well, apparently it's not going to zero. Apparently it's not a Ponzi scheme. And apparently people are going to probably keep buying this for the foreseeable future.
Listen, bro, take your negative ass out of here. I want to ask the chat here. I'm hyper bullish. He's not. I want to know what you think. I want you to give it a rate, okay? 1 to 10, how bullish are you on this news? 1, you're the least bullish like Rob. 10, you're the most bullish like me. Or 5, you're neutral like Rocco. Rocco, are you neutral?
I never said it wasn't bullish.
Robin.
But there's no floodgate. There's no floodgate. Bro.
You're bearish, bro. I don't like you. Rocco?
Probably I'm toward more a 4 than a 5. Huh?
Of course you are. Never mind. I don't want to talk to you ever again.
So you asked me.
I don't want to talk to you two.
But you know, I'm an
I
XRP holder, so you can tell me that.
See,
you know.
Crypto Billy, he knows what's up. Miguel knows what's up. Armand has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Why you ask me my opinion and you don't like?
You ask our opinion, then you don't.
Then I'm not going to ask your opinions anymore. I'll just do the show myself. Rocco, you're out.
Okay.
Robin, you're out.
Okay.
Anyways,
it's bullish news. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that it's going to take a while to materialize. That's all. That's my whole point.
It's been a while.
And no, it's going to be a lot more wild.
It's not going to be a lot more wild. It's going to be medium wild.
It's like Ethereum. Like,
listen, bro.
We can sit here and talk about how great the Petra update's going to be, but we know it ain't rolling
it's
out
not
for the
bullish.
next 20
It's
years.
not, guys. It's the worst thing that can ever happen.
Never said that.
Whatever. Disappointing you, bro. What happened to you, man? Used to do the bull thing. Now you're just a bear. You should do the bear thing. Anyways, no, Rocco, he doesn't deserve that. Whatever sound a bear makes, that's what he deserves. We have a few 5s, but I think a majority of people are fairly bullish on this. So, yeah. All jokes aside, though.
So bullish.
All jokes aside, this is a huge step, you guys. It really is, because other banks are seeing, right? It's like everyone wants to stay at, maybe not obviously ahead, but at least on par with what their peers are doing. So if JP Morgan Chase is able to unlock, I don't know, $100 billion of extra revenue a year by doing what they're doing, guess what? US Bank and Citibank and Wells Fargo and Bank of America and every single large bank is going to do the same thing. And when we talk about these institutions, are they going to go with another platform or an untested entity, or will they go with the one that just did what they did? And the one I mean is Chainlink. And so I'm uber bullish on Chainlink. I know the price doesn't reflect it. Let's take a peek at where the price is right now. It is up 25% on the 7-day, but down 1.5% on the 24-hour, sitting at, let me put it to you this way. You have the one singular project in crypto that facilitated this thing, and it's sitting at $11 billion. Very undervalued. With that being said,
why is the singular one?
What's up?
It's not the only one.
No, it facilitated it.
Oh.
Ondo was on the other side. They were on the receiving end, but who facilitated the transaction was Chainlink. Okay, let's listen to Mr. Brian Armstrong. He was on CNBC talking about the big news yesterday, which congrats again to Coinbase, as they're officially part of the S&P 500. Let's take a listen.
Big news for you guys on the S&P 500. Is that going to change your outlook at all, or the impact that Coinbase has?
Well, we're very happy to be included in the S&P 500. It now means that crypto is here to stay. It's going to be a part of everybody's 401k. It's a testament to the hard work of our employees and our investors, and it's a big appreciation to our customers, too, that helped us get to be one of the most trusted companies in America, and so we couldn't be happier.
Thank you so much. That was Brian Armstrong.
I said this yesterday, Rob. Like, I'm sorry, but if you've been shitting on crypto for the last 10 years or 5 years, and you have any part of the S&P 500, congratulations, you are now a crypto holder. Robin? What?
It's still scorched from early.
Tell me.
Is there a question here?
Yeah, like, hey, what's up, man?
Okay. Well, hi, that's not a question, but sure.
Okay, yeah. I know we kind of briefly talked about this yesterday, but how are you guys laughing?
I don't know. Try to figure it out. What's
Is this
going
pick on David Day today?
Listen,
It's
did
'cause I
you
wanted to
drink
make
Rob
sure it
coffee
doesn't have-
today? Did you drink Rob
Sexist
coffee?
bastards. You guys are both sexist. Anyways, S&P, Coinbase. Are you holding any Coinbase stock, or would you tell people to? No.
No, it's a brilliant move. I think if you're in the stock market and you don't really
Well, what do
want
you
to
mean?
open up,
What do you mean it's a brilliant move?
it's a brilliant move to own Coinbase stock.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Okay, yeah.
especially if you really are uneasy with buying crypto. I guess even with the exchanges, even with the ETFs, there's a lot of uncertainty. You start talking about ETFs and like, well, can who's custodying it and all that. You just want the traditional invest in a company business model with stocks. Sure. I think Coinbase makes too much sense. Especially in the short term, because let's be real. Coinbase tends to be a leveraged play on Bitcoin's price. Not so much as like MicroStrategy, but Coinbase's stock outperforms Bitcoin during the bull market. Also underperforms Bitcoin on the downside as well during bear markets. And so it's more of a leverage play, but I think is a beautiful long-term hold. So if you have some friends or family that, you can't convince them to buy Bitcoin, or even if you don't. Yeah.
The Trojan horse.
Yeah. You're having this conversation. You're just like, look, man, like don't buy, if you don't want to buy Bitcoin,
Screw crypto.
cool.
Buy the S&P.
Well, you could do that, but just, hey, like, you know what? If my dad, for example, wanted to buy Bitcoin or he was interested in crypto, I might suggest starting with Coinbase. I think that would be make a lot of sense. I'm like, hey, man, you know what? Why don't you just buy some Coinbase? Buy that, then come back and talk to me, and then we'll buy you some Bitcoin.
You should just tell him to buy some AI agents.
Or
They'll
just
make
buy
a lot
some
of money.
Bitcoin. I don't even know.
Tell him to put all his money in AI agents. It's good. Speaking of AI agents, take a look at this. So if you're part of our Patreon, shout out to you. Why? Because this post went out on Sunday. Okay. So 3 days ago. And I gave a breakdown of all the Genesis launches on Virtuals Protocol that were coming out. Above what I'm not showing you because, I don't want, disrespectful to the people that are paying for this information. But one of them that I said the following launches I plan on participating in, one of them was Axelrod. Big potential on this one, lots of hype. I'll be participating in this launch, medium allocation. And take a look at this. If you, of course, nothing we say is financial advice. But if you read that and you were inspired to participate in this launch, you're at a 21x in less than 12 hours. $100. Was that $210? No. $2,100 out of 100?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My math is bad today. $100, you're sitting on $2,100. $1,000, you're sitting on $21,000. $500, you get the math. And so shout out to our Patreon members. Our goal is always, you pay us $20 a month for the info, but our goal is to give that back 20-fold. So there's a few other ones, by the way. This doesn't stop there. There's, I think, 4 other ones that I have on this list. So if you want alpha on not just AI Virtuals Protocol, but really anything in crypto, there's a link in our description to join our Patreon. It's only $20 a month. With that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Rob. Let's take a look at the markets. What's up? What's down? Yes.
You got it. Bitcoin, how you doing? And so yesterday, show was geared more towards the potential for a breakout on Bitcoin on the last 12 hours. Just not going in the 105 direction, but a little closer to the $100,000 direction. But when you look at the 1 week, we're pretty much just consolidating. And so we're in this nice new sexy channel because a week ago today, we were at 95,000, and lo and behold, we're at 103. We're knocking on the door of new all-time highs. So if you're wondering when breakout, I still think it's going to happen by the end of the week. I'm going to be surprised to see it break out tonight or tomorrow. I still hold strong to my call there. Taking a look at what's up the most today, you got Pudgy Penguins up 11%. Pudgy Penguins is up 50% on the week, David. Are you eyeballing any penguins?
I am not.
Me neither. All right. So Walrus also up 10% and up 35% on the 7-day. Any insight on
Robin,
Walrus?
are you buying any walruses, Robin?
You know, I was actually looking at it. It's not a. I thought it was a straight meme coin. It's not.
No. It's an ecosystem play on Sui.
Yep. It's interesting. I think it.
If I'm not mistaken,
it's like market making.
Yeah, I was gonna say lending bar. Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much it's DeFi.
Yeah, and so is it? I don't know. Could be something there.
Here's the thing, and I might do a Sui video because we talk, and we did a cast video this morning, and I talked about this as well. Like, you can be bullish on an L1 or like Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever. But where you get those 50 to 100 X's, it's in those ecosystems. So if you're a Caspa bull, right, you can make a 5X out of Caspa, no problem. But you can make a 50X out of an ecosystem play. Same thing with Sui. You can still get maybe a 10 to 15X from Sui, but guess what? You dig into their ecosystem and you find a project that is going to push the adoption forward and will bring in users. You find a project like that that's under like 150, 250 million in market cap, you can make a 50 to 100X on it. And Sui's been running hot. You'll see the native token run hot, and then the ecosystem will start to run. And so it's just an easy money-making hack in crypto. If you're bullish on an L1, dig into their ecosystem. Spend, 10 hours over a few days. Look at their ecosystem. Go to DeFiLlama.com and look at what's got the most TVL, and then use different resources to see what's got the most users. Is it practical? Is it going to bring in users? What purpose does it serve? Is it DeFi? Usually, DeFi is the one that runs first. So market making, lending, yada, yada, which, by the way, we just partnered with a project in the XRP ecosystem. And this is something we're super bullish on. It's called Doppler Finance. And they're looking to be the Aave of XRP. So that's just one example, right? So for me, those are the things I'm keeping my eye on. And Rob, as we get deeper into the bull market, that's how you're going to get your high ROI plays. It's through the ecosystem, not through the native tokens themselves. You agree? Is there one ecosystem that you're kind of eyeing to do that to?
I think the Coinbase ecosystem is the one that I think is.
So you're talking about like Base?
Yeah, the Base ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Base.
Any specific sector?
I
think RWAs could blow up. We've had DeFi really blow up. We've had AI blow up, right? So what's the next one? If you are bullish on Base, what is the next narrative you're looking forward to on Base to have that AI style run?
I'm not sure, dude. I would just go with what tends to be trending across all verticals, right? And so when the meme coins were running, when meme coins were popular, what popped off on Base? You had Brett. When DeFi was kind of it hasn't really exploded to the level I think it's going to explode here soon. But when DeFi was popping off, there was a lot of Base ecosystems projects also doing very well. You had those at Aerodrome, and what was the other finance play as well
on Base?
Yeah. Either way, there's a lot of plays there, and so my thing is when the next narrative pops off, and you think it's RWAs, perhaps
Morpho,
and so if it's going to be RWAs, then hey, start figuring out which RWA plays are looking like they're going to lead the pack in Base ecosystem, and then go from there. And maybe it's gaming. Maybe NFTs come back. Maybe it's, I don't know. So whatever maybe it's AI. There's AI plays on Base. It's not quite as strong as
AI.
Oh yeah, no.
I was gonna say AI is the biggest play on Base. Yeah. RWAs.
Yeah. But
you think that Chainlink news is gonna? Because there's usually like one thing that'll spark a run in an entire sector. You think what happened with Chainlink, and all jokes aside, what happened with Chainlink, Ondo, and JP Morgan? You think that'll be like that shock to tell people like, hey guys, RWA's here.
No,
have your allocation.
I genuinely don't.
You don't?
Did you see any price movement when Chainlink had they had a speech with Swift Network, right? They were speaking at a conference, and then There was a partnership with Swift. I mean, that's about as big as it gets. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. You had CCIP. Nothing happened. As far as price, as far as outside of us being bullish for it, I have yet to see anyone outside of these 2 walls here, 4 walls, however many walls we got in this. How many walls we got in here? But I've yet to have anybody come up to me and talk to me about Chainlink. Have you ever ran into anybody outside
Bro,
this
literally
building?
the guy cutting my hair is like, hey, man, I've heard of Chainlink.
Nobody cuts your hair, first of all, because you don't shave. Second of all,
It's true. It's true.
my cousin today was like, when's the last time David washed his car? I was like, he does about once a year.
It's not a
He
car.
times it with his haircuts.
The thing is, it's not a car. Okay.
You keep laughing, Rocco. You wait till the
I'm
show's
sorry.
over.
I can't laugh now anymore. Okay. I'm
No,
sorry.
because you always laugh at me.
Oh my God. What did you have for breakfast today,
I
man?
don't know.
It's so
Actually,
sensitive.
I skipped breakfast.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
That's
Or
delusional.
did you
He
drink
doesn't
some Rob coffee today? That's what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you ever bring the
Yeah,
coffee,
yeah.
Rocco?
I'll just. I have yet
Don't
to
laugh.
see Chainlink news do anything to the markets. It's since the history of Chainlink
But
being
you're
out.
talking about the Chainlink market. I'm talking about
I'm
the
talking about-
RWA market.
Wait, okay. Give me one example that something happened with Chainlink
Uh-huh.
and the markets went crazy.
No, but that's not a fair comparison.
Your question
Listen.
was, will the news of JP Morgan Chase with Chainlink and Ondo, will that news set the market on fire? Is what you just
Remove
asked me.
the-
And I just literally said,
Remove
in
the
the history
word.
of Chainlink news, nothing has ever been set on fire. That's all I'm saying.
Remove the name Chainlink. Okay. JP Morgan makes a first transaction private to public blockchain. Do you think that news is enough to move the markets in the next 3 weeks?
I can replace Chainlink with JP Morgan.
So that's a
Well,
no. Jesus
no,
Christ,
no,
man. You know what, dude? I'm done. Moving on. Okay, so I mentioned, right, ecosystem, digging. The one I'd recommend you guys look into, I'm not telling you what to buy or what to do, but the one I recommend you look into is Hedera. Hedera's on the cusp, I think, of a really big breakout. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. And just very simple, guys, okay? If you're watching, very simple. Go to DeFiLlama.com, search Hedera, and then click on it. And you can see here the ecosystem, all the different dApps in the ecosystem. You can sort by TVL, you can sort by percentage change, and it tells you what they do. Click on it. Oh, Saucer Swap looks interesting. Okay, market cap of 34 million. What do they do? It's an automated market maker. Great. You can click on the links. You can go to their website, do a little due diligence, do your homework, and then allocate money to these. And then when Hedera starts to run, it'll bring the ecosystem up with it, and then you'll make your 20 to 50 X's. You can buy Hedera too. You'll make good money on that as well. But yeah, so that's one I'd tell you to keep your eye on. The other one, Rob brought it up, is SWI. I still think SWI has a long way to go. I mean, look at what Solana did. Look at the Solana ecosystem plays. Radium, Orca, Meteora, Jupiter. I mean, you name it. These tokens just all blew up. Maybe not Jupiter because it was an airdrop. But regardless, that's how you're going to make your money the deeper you get into the bull market. Don't be hyper-focused on the native L1s. Be hyper-focused on their ecosystems, the ones that you're bullish on. Where the hell were we with the markets, by the way? Did we get into any altcoins or just you said something about buying penguins and walruses?
I mentioned walrus, and then you went off on, I don't know what.
I pulled a Robin. Go ahead.
Cool. You got Radium up 5%, up 46% on the week. So take a look at what is up the most on the week. On the 24 hours, these are down. Dog with Hat, Pi, Pepe, all down on the 24 hours, but they have made massive moves in the week. And so Dog with Hat, 2x in the last 7 days. And so what we're seeing here is you got Pepe, Dog with Hat in the top 3 on the week. And it just goes to show you that, hey, I think you're going to get a continuation from these altcoins, particularly the meme coins. You look down at the big boys, Dogecoin's up 35%. When you look at the top 10 cryptos, only outperformed by Ethereum. Ethereum's up 44% on the week, but Doge is right there at 37% on the week. So seems like meme coins have their time to shine now. Wouldn't be surprised to see Shiba Inu break out. Shiba Inu underperforming Doge. Shiba Inu underperforming the underperforming Pepe and all the other ones. So we did see a massive run in SHIB last bull market. We're seeing a big move to quote unquote quality meme coins. I would keep a very close eye on SHIB. Would not be surprised to see this thing 2x.
Dude, how bullish are you on their taco stand, man?
Their taco stand?
Remember the little restaurant?
Yeah. You talking about the news that we covered in one article 2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone knows exactly what you're talking
It's
about.
still up, bro. That's going to push it. You want to talk about...
He's like, Rob, man, there was this article 3.5 years ago. SHIB opened up a kiosk at the airport in Dubai.
They did.
They were selling t-shirts.
They would SHIB.
It's amazing, bro.
Big burns.
There you go.
Trillion tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where do you think Doge gets to this cycle? You still on a $3 train?
Still pretty bullish on Doge.
$3 though?
$3?
That's what you said.
Did I say that?
Your thing was $3.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe, okay.
So that doesn't sound very confident, man. Pick a number. Where's Doge going?
But here's the thing. As time passes and you don't get that big breakout, then, yeah, it becomes less and less likely. And so at the beginning of this bull market, I would have been, I obviously was a little bit more bullish on Doge.
So what's your number now? $2? $1.80?
I don't even know if it gets past $1, man.
What? Not even past $1? Come on, bro. It almost got to $1 last cycle. I think like $1.40, $1.50. I'm with Muhammad on this one, shockingly. $1.50 Doge. Still good. What is that, a 5X? Great, man. TH.
I'm just not hearing any
You
buzz.
sound very
on Doge.
disappointed, man.
I somewhat am. I really expected a lot out of Doge this bull market.
I mean,
I don't know.
You
We'll
mentioned
see.
30 days up 44%. So, yeah, and
It's a big move for Doge. It's, if you would have picked some up, what was it, at like 15 cents? Something like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's, I don't know, man. You know what? You had the Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, whatever it is. And so that didn't bring any real eyeballs to Doge. That was something you were pretty big on. You're like, hey, everyone's talking about Doge,
That didn't work out.
Doge.
that didn't work.
And nothing. That's kind of where I'm at. I think that people are no longer just pumping coins because of a tweet, and people are no longer pumping coins. Now, there are exceptions. But the days of JP Morgan in an article headline that also references crypto is not a big mover anymore. We're growing up now. At some point, people are going to be like, okay, cool. Bank of America has something to do with stable coins now. I don't think that people are going to just all of a sudden leave work early, go home, get on their computer, and then start buying anything that Bank of America touches. Those days are gone, dude. We're legitimized. Institutions around the world are using crypto, and it's now kind of normal. And so now that we see these partnerships, it's not that big a deal. It's not that big of a shock. And now that you had Doge government efficiency, we see that, hey, you branded the crypto token by Elon, who used to be Mr. Pump Master when it came to mentioning Doge, doesn't even move the needle now.
Pump Master Flex. You have any new names you want to spit out?
I haven't really been keeping track, but there are a few people. We got Dan Griffin's Ice Tank Stan, Jason F, Yambi, and UGOs, and Tianan, and Hassan. All of you. Hola! Welcome to SINCITY.
And hola to Ripple, as they have met with United Arab Emirates officials to discuss digital payment infrastructure and accelerating financial innovation. XRP, let's take a peek at an XRP chart here. Which, by the way, Bitcoin's in a falling wedge. Should break to the upside. But No Bitcoin. Let's talk XRP. XRP also. Take a look. Let's go to zoom out to the higher time frame. As you guys see all my beautiful drawings here on XRP, let's clean up this chart just a little bit. Let's get rid of you, and let's get rid of you. So XRP, this is on the daily, okay? Measuring from, this is on the 9th of April, up 52%. And we're seeing just news after news, and it's not just in the US, it's really globally. XRP just continues to hit. They put in an offer to buy, who did they just put in an offer to buy? A Circle. They put an offer in to buy Circle. They just bought Hidden Road. They bought a bunch of ones. And so Ripple is looking to become just a conglomerate, a giant in the world. And it looks like they got the funding to do it. And so these partnerships, great news. XRP sitting at $2.54. Rob, we can expect more big news to come down the pipeline. What are your thoughts on picking up XRP at $2.50? Or is there a price level that you kind of have maybe an alert on that if it hits this level that you're, buying a good chunk?
I still think that XRP consolidates for quite some time. And it's nothing against the projects, nothing against the partnerships. It did a really, really big move going from 50 cents all the way to a massive breakout. What you laughing at, bro?
Breakout's massive.
Yeah. So from 50 cents up to 250. So 5x in a short period of time. It's going to consolidate. That's what we've seen. It's consolidated quite some time. But I do think you get a major, major breakout. I think it gets up to that. I think the last time we were talking about it earlier this week,
$3.08.
yeah, it was. We referenced getting up to $8, $9, $10 eventually, and I think that at that point it's going to be off the back of a couple big candles in a very short time window, say 2 weeks, and so yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move on. Donald Trump making moves, and looks like my web browser is also making moves that I did not want it to make. Jesus, with the ads, my God, shut up. White House announces $1.2 trillion in economic commitment with Qatar, including significant Boeing order. President Donald Trump was in Qatar on the second stop of his Middle East trip, and the White House said he signed an agreement with Qatar to generate an economic exchange worth at least $1.2 trillion, and that figure includes economic deals totaling more than $250 billion between the U.S. and Qatar. And Qatar, actually, I think they just committed to buying $250 million worth of, what is this? Oh, that's $250 million worth of Boeing planes. And so Trump was in the Middle East. No, I'll bring it back to crypto in a second. He was in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Trade deals are happening. Money's flowing in. And that is only going to be good for the economy. Rob, any commentary on this and kind of what Trump's been doing and how it's pushing the crypto narrative forward and maybe bringing retail out of the depths of being completely broke?
Well, I think what you're seeing is a change in at least the public's dynamic or public's view of what's going on with the U.S. economy. For one, the S&P 500, nice big bounce back. The index funds, big bounce back. Particularly NASDAQ as well. And so I also saw that in his travels here, he was discussing, hey, I told you 5 weeks ago to buy some stocks to go invest in the U.S. economy.
We saw that video yesterday.
Yeah. And so, you know what? The U.S. economy is looking good, man. And so I think that the stigma of the tariffs, the economy being down, I think it's taking a back seat, man. How much have you heard about tariffs lately? Not quite as much.
Well, we only hear about the deals, right?
Yeah, but we haven't heard anything too negative about tariffs as of lately. I think that's starting to fade, that narrative. And now
I told you, because the China thing.
And now on top of that, we're seeing more and more positive economy news. And I think that when he starts talking about crypto, because I think we're going to get some big crypto news coming out of the White House here within the next couple of weeks, you would take that plus the economy, plus the stigma of tariffs out the window. I think we're primed for a big breakout.
Yeah.
New all-time highs are coming.
And we'll see. And I think what's really going to kick it off is Fed cutting interest rates. The next one is June 18th. What will Jerome Powell do? I don't know. The data looks good. The data looks good. And they just dropped tariffs on China. We know that Jerome Powell has said time after time, we don't know the effects that the tariffs are going to have. Well, guess what? The tariffs were just dropped from 145% down to what, 30%?
Yeah. So
Once the Fed cuts rates and we start getting that easy liquidity, you'll start seeing just massive price rallies. Ukraine plans to create a national Bitcoin reserve. The country of Ukraine. Ukraine is working
pretty
on
smart, dude.
Huh?
Borrow money from the U.S. and the EU and buy Bitcoin with it.
Hey, that's what Michael Saylor's doing.
Yeah. Not from the U.S. though.
U.S. investors. And to which they're taxpayers, and you can argue that the money Ukraine's getting is also from taxpayers, U.S. investors. Ukraine is working on legislation to establish a national strategic Bitcoin reserve. Per the announcement, Binance is backing Ukraine's efforts to build the Bitcoin reserve, while the report mentioned active cooperation between the global exchange and Ukraine's authorities. It did not elaborate on the scope of said collaboration. Binance CEO Richard Tang told the Financial Times last month that the company is collaborating with multiple countries. Remember, we shared this news. It looks like one of them was Ukraine. What will the other ones be? A big country in Asia? Big country in Europe? I don't know. But guys, it's happening in front of our eyes. Rob, thoughts?
You think any of this has any
The minerals deal?
correlation? No. Correlation to the meltdown we had in the White House,
What do you mean?
where Donald Trump and JD Vance and you don't have the cards. You remember?
Yeah, when he said, did you say please?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you didn't say please. Basically, you had
What are you trying to
the
get
Ukraine. The Ukraine went from borrowing money and getting support from the U.S. to basically being like, hey man, look, we're not going to easily give you any money. You don't even appreciate it. You ain't got the cards. You need to end this war. And you had a argument, right, at the White House.
Yes.
And some of us thought like, hey man, how far does this escalate? How bad is this relationship tarnished? Will there perhaps be sanctions in the future? Right? I mean, imagine if here's a scenario. Russia invaded Ukraine. US put sanctions on Russia. Right? Lots of them. Their whole banking system was pretty much shut out. Lots of money was seized. Bank accounts were taken over. Oligarchs were pissed off. Anyways, what ended up happening was U.S. sanctioned Russia for setting into motion what was the war. Don't you think that the reverse can happen as well? Let's say Russia is like, hey, look, we got this peace treaty deal here. We're trying to sign it. The U.S. has backed the deal. Donald Trump says it's a good deal. Ukraine should take it. What do you think happens if Ukraine says, no, we don't want to take it?
Yeah.
No, we want to keep fighting. No, we want our lands back. We're going to keep going to war. Isn't it within the realm of possibility, if not likelihood, that the U.S. would put sanctions on Ukraine if they continue the war, even though Russia is trying to make a peace deal or treaty? And what happens if you sanction Ukraine? Well, I hope you got another monetary system you can leverage. And perhaps that has something to do with it. Maybe it's a reach. Maybe I'm just overthinking it here. Maybe they just see the value of Bitcoin and like, hey, let's just put some of our fiat or some of our capital into Bitcoin in the same way that we already have gold. Maybe that's all they're doing. Or maybe they're thinking about the potential for sanctions coming down from the EU and from the United States.
Either way, I think a lot of countries, right? If you look at what the U.S. did to Russia, they literally went in there and froze all their assets and say, we issue the dollar, we can freeze it. And so when the U.S. did that to another sovereign nation, people are looking around like, yeah, we got a shitload of dollars. Like we do or say something that pisses off the current sitting president of the U.S., we're screwed. And ever since then, I think a lot of people are really, really just focused on how do we deleverage? Just like the U.S. is trying to deleverage from Chinese manufacturing, I think globally, everyone's trying to deleverage from the US dollar as far as not being beholden to one single currency that if the US decides to cut you off, you're screwed and your people are screwed. And I think the case Bitcoin makes for that is huge. And you're going to see that adoption accelerate massively. Big shout out to Muhammad, said Rob's haircut needs to be invaded. Fair enough. Any reply to that?
Nope.
How about a thank you to Muhammad? You're not even going to thank him? That's very disrespectful, and you're not being appreciative. Muhammad, on behalf of Robin, thank you.
Did you see what Greg said?
For the $10. What did Greg say?
Greg said, Rob is right again.
Wow. Make you feel better?
Most important comment of the day. There you go.
Okay, buddy. Okay. We'll go get a haircut together after, okay? All right. I do want to talk about this as well. By the way, before I forget, Asher will be in studio tomorrow, and we're going to continue the crypto confessions. What does that mean? Email your crypto confession. It could be crypto confessions. It could be a statement. It could be whatever you want. And she'll pick a couple, and we'll talk about it on the show. And that email, Ash, if you're still in here, drop that email. I'll pin it to the top. It's cryptoconfessions00@gmail.com. It is anonymous, so feel free to share whatever you like. And then if we share it on the show tomorrow, we'll give our thoughts. Maybe we'll laugh at you. Maybe we'll give you advice. Maybe we'll feel bad for you and give you money. Who knows? All right, let's talk about this. Crypto market holds steady as investors await key economic data. This is sourced from Defiant.io. The crypto market remained flat on Wednesday as investors await key macro data due Thursday, following a softer than expected U.S. Consumer Price Index, CPI, on Tuesday. CPI came in at 2.3 headline. It's great. Now, all eyes will be on Thursday's PPI data, which will offer further insight into inflation and the Federal Reserve's potential policy moves. A softer than expected PPI reading could suggest monetary easing later this year. Rob, do you think we're still in this world of, well, there's still so many uncertainties that people just don't feel comfortable going two hands in to risk on assets, including crypto, right? This article talks about data. People are still saying, I had a guy ask me the other day, hey man, if a recession hits, what's going to happen to crypto? I was like, I don't know, dude. It's going to go down. So I think there's a lot of overhang. A lot of people are worried. You think that is the case for why we're maybe not seeing the massive blow off tops, or you think it's something else? What are your thoughts on this article?
I mean, I think don't get impatient, people. That's basically the moral of the story here. A week ago, we were $95,000 Bitcoin, right? And if you remember, a month ago, we were at $84,000 Bitcoin. And what was it? How long? When did we hit 70-something thousand?
74?
Yeah,
in April.
So yeah, then a little over a month ago, we hit $74,000.
We're up 30%.
And so, like, this is a massive move here, just in the short term, from 70 to over 100K, and we're right there knocking on the door for a new all-time high again. And so, yeah, I mean, it's pretty bullish, man. I don't know if someone is bearish on Bitcoin's price action. Like, what are you expecting?
Well,
Because this is the reality. Like, this is what's going to happen moving forward in Bitcoin's lifetime. Like, this is how it's going to be. Like, if you want BlackRock and you want giant companies buying Bitcoin and nations buying Bitcoin, you're not going to get giant sell-offs. Why? Because MicroStrategy will step to the plate and buy when there's a giant dip. El Salvador, a country, will step up, buy Bitcoin when it dips. Potentially Ukraine will step up, buy Bitcoin. The list goes on and on and on. And then there's just the whales with big, deep pockets. And so you're just not going to see big dips. But at the same time, you also have retail and smart money that's going to sell the big rallies. Because what happens when Bitcoin hits 130,000? David?
I'm going to go get a haircut.
You going to get a haircut?
Yeah.
No, when Bitcoin hits 130,000, it's going to pull back.
Yeah.
And so what investors, traditional money, these new big whales they're going to see the value of Bitcoin go up by a factor of 30% in a short window. They're going to sell. And then what's going to happen is the price is going to consolidate. Then it'll hang out at 120, 121 or something. And so just less volatility. That's just the name of the game. And if you just zoom out a little bit, like a month in a week, you zoom out just a little bit, you'll see like, hey, like, wow, we're up from 74,000 to 104,000. What a move. You're talking a 50% rally in a month and a month and a week. And so if you would have told me like, hey, is 5 weeks, if Bitcoin goes up 50% in 5 weeks, is that good? Like, of course it's good. There you go, man.
Like I'm saying, a lot of people are spoiled, you know? We want those blow-off tops, those big rallies. Speaking of being spoiled, if you want to spoil yourself and come to Las Vegas and give us a haircut, buy your Bitcoin tickets. They go up every Friday, which means in 2 days, prices will go up. They just announced JD Vance will be speaking. Who else will they announce? We know we had Nick on the show last week from the conference, and they said, well, look, we haven't even announced our biggest guests yet. So the first one dropped, JD Vance. Who will be the next one? I don't know. But don't get caught wishing you bought it early because, again, every Friday the price goes up. There's a link in our description. Please use it if you want to support the channel. Also, speaking of supporting the channel, come join me for our TA stream in about an hour, 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we break down some charts. Actually, one of our trades was executed. And so we'll look at that ton coin trade. And so come join us there. With that being said, Rocco. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you. Come back in an hour on this channel. We'll have some fun, make some money, do some charts. Love you guys. Until next time. Peace.
Can I laugh now? Can I laugh? Can I say something?
We're done. No. We're done.
Okay, Rob. I'm sorry, Rob.
Entertainment and info, gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are